Hello everybody and welcome to the third episode of How to Build a Home Studio. My name is Yuval and this episode is going to be particularly exciting because we are just about to finish the soundproofing of this room, making it ready for some acoustical treatment. In the first two episodes, we have built the floating floor, and on top of it, we have added the double door and the walls frame. In this episode, we are going to continue by building the ceiling frame. Then we are going to extend our infrastructure, our lights, our electricity outlets, and our Ethernet LAN. Then we can finally soundproof the room with large chunks of rock wool and to build the panels around those ceiling and walls. But first thing first, the ceiling frame, it serves two functions. One is, of course, to hold the rock wool on top of us between the inner room and the external ceiling. The other is to provide counterforce for the walls frame, fixing all the walls frame part in their place. Another thing to note about the ceiling frame is that it's not built straight, it's actually built diagonally in about 20 degrees. And the reason for that is that we strive to break any sound reflections coming from the walls or from the ceiling. Now, in large studios or large concert halls, this is also possible and done with the walls. In project studios like this, it's not always done because of space limitations. So we couldn't really do it with the walls, but with the ceiling, we had enough space to work with. And I do encourage you, if you have a larger room, also to try this with the walls. It helps breaking reflection from the walls and supports later on the acoustics of the room. So let's watch the first step, how we build the ceiling frame. How to build a home studio. Episode number 3, here we go! Now that we have the walls frame and the ceiling frame connected together, we are ready to go on and finally soundproof the room with large chunks of rock wool entered into those frames. But before we can do that, there's one more thing we need to take care of, and that is the infrastructure of the room. We need to extend that infrastructure into the room for lights, for electricity, and for Ethernet LAN. But before I show you how we did this, a word of warning, and let me place a little sign right here in the corner. And that sign means warning. Electricity is dangerous. Yes, at the risk of stating the obvious, I'd like to tell you that if you do something wrong, you may get electrocuted and die, and it just doesn't worth it. If you're not 100% sure that you know how to go on about this part, it's better to spend a few more bucks and have a certified electrician do this for you than to risk your own life. I cannot stress this point enough. Do not go on unless you're 100% sure that you know what you're doing. So with that said, let me show you how we did this. And of course, every room has different requirements, different electricity systems, so these are just rough guidelines. The first thing when working with electricity is to make sure that the relevant circuit breaker is off. Even if you think your isolation is good, do not touch any wires or other electrical parts while the circuit breaker is on. It's the #1 safety rule. Now, in this case, we needed to connect 4 electrical points. One for the LED lights on the ceiling, one for the light switch, and 2 power outlets. For the lights, we used 3-watt LED spots for 2 main reasons. One is that LEDs are operating more efficiently and consume less power. And 2, they are radiating much less than halogen or fluorescent, and for this reason they are the best choice to use in a studio environment where we want to reduce EMI, electromagnetic interference, to the minimum. In addition, LED spots look nice and they distribute the light evenly in the room. We arranged the LEDs in an even 4-on-3 formation since it was fitting the room. Obviously, different rooms may require different forms. We calculated their location on the ceiling and even dry tested it on floor. Then, we prepared some adequate wires, taking an extra length as long as twice the direct distance, since some flexibility will be needed, and connected between the drivers on the ceiling. Since LEDs are semiconductors, their drivers need to be connected in parallel. When you buy the spots, please ask for a wiring diagram. Next, we connected the power switch for the lights and extended the 2 power outlets. It is important to always make sure that the correct wiring is kept hot, cold, and ground. You should test this with a multimeter. Proper ground connection is very important for your safety, but all the more it is important to reduce unwanted noises in your gear signal chain. If applying, make sure that all outlets in the room are connected to the same ground source to prevent ground loops. Finally, we are channeling our Ethernet cable from the router through the walls and into an Ethernet RJ45 outlet. There are many guides online how to wire them. I recommend to use a Cat7 or a Cat7a type of cable, which is more expensive, but is also future-proof for faster LAN networks that may come in a few years. Ethernet connection is important in the studio, since we will constantly upload and download large files, and Wi-Fi connection will not work just as fast. Now, with all the foundations in place, we are finally ready to open the rock wool packs and get those chunks into our ceiling and wall frames.
Alright, so just so you can hear the room before we inserted the rock wool, so you can clearly hear the echo, right? Very loud and clear, and let's see what happens after we insert the rock wool in the walls and into the ceiling.
So the final stage of soundproofing the room would be the paneling. There are different material options for panels. We chose to use wood because, first of all, it looks nice. It's also not very expensive. And most importantly, some woods are what's known as tone woods. That means that they actually respond nicely to sound. And in this case, it's actually a combination of fir and spruce. Both are tone woods used to make guitars, mandolins, ouds, even pianos. And they give the studio a very special and unique tone characteristic, which many audio engineers like. Of course, every infrastructure outlet, lights, etc., is going to be paid special attention to, and we're going to drill holes in the ceiling for the LED spots, and then it's going to be done. So that sums it up for this episode. We've covered a lot of ground, and it's great to finally have a soundproof room completely isolated from the environment and vice versa. I'm sure that once you do your own, you will be excited to see how efficiently this thing works and how much sound is kept inside and outside. So as always, you're welcome to subscribe to the channel, leave comments on the videos, follow me on Facebook and Twitter. And I also created lately a Patreon page. It's a way for you to pledge for this channel and support it financially. So if you like what I do and you would like to see videos, music, and such tutorials coming up more often, please consider going to the link below and pledge for this channel. So I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode, the final one, of how to build a home studio.